On our most recent Disney cruise adventure together, we had the opportunity to experience cruising without those paper navigators delivered to our room. And spoiler alert, it doesn't work very well. To give you some background, in the past on the Disney cruise, at the end of the day, maybe right before you change for dinner, or maybe just as you're about to go to sleep, you'll come back to your stateroom and you'll find the stateroom host or hostess has left a Disney Cruise Line navigator in your room, which details everything that's happening the next day. These navigators give you a wide-angle view of everything that's happening the next day, and they're really essential to have with you because you can see what is best for each age group. There's a category fun for all ages, adult, some for vibe, edge, oceaneer, lab. You can see what is best for everyone. One of the biggest benefits to the Navigator, in my opinion, is that you can continue to be disconnected on board. You do not have to take your cell phone with you anywhere. You can leave it in the room if you like, and I know a lot of fellow cruisers do, and just take the Navigator with you everywhere. Not only is the Navigator perfect for the wide angle view, but let's say you're sitting in the D lounge, you're having a great time, but about halfway through you're ready for something else. You can very quickly take out the Navigator and see, oh look, Mickey's meeting on deck 4, let's go say hi. You can see the overlap extremely easily. Now, what do I mean by overlap? My sister Michelle very smartly brought this up on our adventure together. Let's take the 5,000 mega jackpot bingo just as an example. You can see that that goes on from 4:15 to 5 o'clock. It's very easy to see in the Navigator, and at the same time, there are all sorts of other activities that you can also go to, like a meet and greet with Stitch, or Vampirina, or Pluto, or Disney Cruise Line trivia, and so on. Now, there is an electronic version of the Navigator that you can find on the Disney Cruise Line app, which I highly recommend you install before you step on board, but that Navigator is so much more difficult to read, not because the activities aren't there, but because to see any overlap, to see how long an activity is, you actually have to click it and then see how long it goes for, and then try and think about it in your head. Okay, so if this one ends at 2 o'clock, I gotta go to the 1:30. Just to think about it that way just kind of adds an extra level. That's not as fun. It's just not as easy to read. The paper Navigator is so much easier. During our adventure, I went to guest services and I asked them why the Navigator was no longer being delivered to our room. They told me it was an effort to reduce paper, and that's where I'm confused. If Disney is trying to reduce paper waste, which I can't understand, why am I getting all of this when I'm on board? I mean, just look at this. We've got group previews, different shopping guides. There's the Nassau shopping guide, which has more paper inside of it. They have the Adventures by Disney, where to book your next Disney cruise, and several of these are glossy pieces of paper, so you know it takes more time to make them, and there's probably even more waste if I throw them out. If the goal is to reduce paper, I can totally understand it, but Disney, reduce these and give me more of these. And when I'm holding two things, I'm holding the map of Castaway Cay and the Navigator, and I am even willing to let the map go. I'm literally willing to do that. I just want one piece of paper. Just one piece of paper a day. I do not need 12. I don't need all this. I need this. Of course, I would love it if they left the map of Castaway Cay there, but that's just 2 pieces of paper. That's just 2. It's still reducing the amount of paper by a lot. After I realized that this test was in progress, I went back to guest services every single day of our adventure to get a paper Navigator for myself and for my sister, who also wanted one. Luckily, I'm an early riser, and when I got there, there were several Navigators still available. But later on in the day, maybe like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, we would walk by guest services, maybe just through the lobby or on our way to after hours section, and I would see that there would be none left on that hanging area right next to guest services. Maybe they have more in the back, maybe they can print more, but they were all gone, and it led to longer lines at guest services. I didn't ask what those lines were about, but if I had to guess, many other guests were also looking for the Navigator. Thanks to my friends at the Disney Cruise Line blog, I found out that you can request to have the Navigator left in your stateroom each night by the stateroom host. All you have to do is stop by guest services. I don't know how long they're going to continue to allow that, but it's something you may want to ask about if you want one delivered. To me, this adds a twinge of stress to an otherwise stress-free experience. The reason for this, I was talking to a friend of mine who has a disabled child, and their child does not like to look at screens to look at what's going on during the day. They prefer the paper Navigator, totally fine and understandable. Let's imagine you're the parent of that child, and you slept in just a little bit, and sleeping in on the Disney Cruise Line is totally fine. You should, it's part of the experience. But you end up going to guest services, and because it's 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, they don't have any of the paper version left, so they say, you know, use the Cruise Line Navigator app on your phone. I don't know. It just does not work. It does not work. I do not think this is a long-term solution. There are all sorts of examples like this, either by choice or by need. Guests want the paper Navigator. Disney, this is something that I do not think should be eliminated. I decided to take this a step further and did some research about what kind of alternatives Disney could use to paper, because if Disney wants to stop paper waste, I totally can get behind that. Yes, that sounds good, but there's got to be another solution that they can print. One very good option that I found is for Disney to start using 100% recycled paper. From what I've read, it takes 60% less energy to manufacture recycled paper, and I've also heard that some of this recycled paper, when it comes in contact with water or something else over time, it will just disintegrate, so it doesn't leave any kind of waste. I think I speak for many in our community when I say I do not mind what color it is at all. If it's a grayish hue, kind of orangish, I do not care. Anything is fine, just as long as I can hold it in my hand. Another possible solution, chlorine-free paper. From what I've read, I found out that this chlorine is not only harmful to humans, but it can also be very harmful to the environment. Not necessarily from the paper itself, but as a byproduct of the manufacturing. So Disney could use chlorine-free paper to help with this. Another alternative is for Disney to use some kind of different material for making the paper, like agri-pulp. I have no idea what that is, but I heard you can use it to make a paper material. Also, bamboo shoots can be used to create some kind of paper material. I'm sure there are even more options available than that, and I'm 100% sure that if Disney puts their mind to it, they can find another kind of material or another method to create printed versions of the Navigator. Some way they can do it. If they want to reduce paper, I don't need this. I don't need the group preview, Adventures by Disney. If I want this information, the DVC desk is right there. Guest services can easily give me this information, all of it. I just need a paper style Navigator. If Disney can make these plastic bags out of 80% plastic bottles, which is what they are, and they're really sturdy bags, they really work well, they will not disintegrate in the rain, but they're made out of recycled materials, I am 100% sure they can create another material to print the Navigator. In addition to all of that, to help with Disney's greening efforts, they can also create some centrally located recycling bins specifically for paper. And you can throw all of this paper in there at the end of the cruise if you don't want it, and then Disney can recycle this paper and use it on future adventures. Now, with all of that being said, my hope in the future is to be able to disconnect even more, and not having my phone on me is a mission that I've been trying to work towards. I've been getting better at it, slowly but surely, kind of leaving it in the room a little bit, here and there from time to time, but being able to leave it in the room completely is totally doable with the paper Navigator. I really hope that Disney works on this in the future. Those are my thoughts. What do you think? Do you like the idea of no longer having a paper Navigator and just looking at your cell phone for some of these things? Or do you love the paper Navigator as much as I do, where you take them home with you, look at some of the activities, and consider what you might want to do on your next adventure? Let me know in the comments below and in the poll right there. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being a part of the magic with me. Until next time, have a magical day.